YouTube, and welcome back to the channel. This is iMac Sports with another football video, and today I'm comparing the two young quarterbacks that have had prolific winning percentages with a frankly small sample size of games, a season with a little extra, but they're having prolific numbers, they're having prolific percentages, and it's interesting to talk about, and I want to go over which quarterback will do better in their career, both regular season and postseason. I've compared their statistics. I've compared their statistics to veteran quarterbacks and how those veteran quarterbacks' careers turned out, and I have found some key details that I think will be important in deciding how their careers will end up going. So make sure to like and subscribe, and I hope you guys enjoy the video. I won't have a face cam today because my video, the page is full of stuff and statistics and whatever, so I won't have a face cam because there's not enough space for it. So let's get right into it. So first is a regular season statistic comparison. Jimmy Garoppolo is 21-5, Lamar is 19-3. Jimmy Garoppolo averages 260 yards per game, 67.5% completion, 43 touchdowns, 21 picks, 8.4 yards per attempt with a quarterback rating of 100. That's pretty solid. It's a pretty solid nuclear quarterback with pretty average general statistics. Lamar Jackson, 22 starts, 140 yards per game, 63.7%, 42 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, 7.6 yards per attempt, and a quarterback rating of 104.7. So he has more touchdowns per game, less picks per game, and a lower completion percentage, and much less yards per game, but that's because he runs. So, if you include the rushing yards, Lamar also has 12 more touchdowns. So in 22 games, Lamar has 54 touchdowns, and Jimmy Garoppolo has 43 touchdowns in 26 games. In their similar number of starts, Jimmy has 361 first downs, Lamar has 350. Jimmy has 263 yards per game. Lamar has 201. Jimmy has 1.73 touchdowns per game. Lamar has 2.45, so that's a big difference there. And touchdown to interception ratio is an even bigger one. Jimmy has 2.14 to 1 touchdown to interception ratio, but Lamar has a 6-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio. Strength of schedule, Jimmy is 21-5. With last season, he went 13-3 against with the sixth hardest schedule. Lamar went 12-3 with 13-2 with the eighth hardest schedule. Jimmy won his division in his first full season, and Lamar won his division in his first full season. So pretty similar stats. Lamar gets more touchdowns, Jimmy gets more yards, is the consensus there. Now, if you look at their postseason stat comparison, Jimmy Garoppolo is 2-1 in his 3 starts. Lamar is 0-2. Jimmy has 142 yards per game. Lamar has 280 passing yards per game. Jimmy has a 64% completion percentage. Lamar has a 51% completion percentage. Jimmy has 2 touchdowns in 3 games. Lamar has 3 touchdowns in 2 games. They both have 3 picks. Jimmy has 5.7 yards per attempt with a quarterback rating of 75.9 compared to Lamar's 6.4 yards per attempt and a quarterback rating of 68.3. Lamar also has 100 yards rushing yards per game and 6.8 yards per attempt, for a total of 38 first downs in 2 games compared to Jimmy's 27 first downs in 3 games. Lamar had 380 total yards per game in his 2 games. Jimmy had 145. And average record of their opponent teams, Jimmy's opponent team average record is 12-4. Lamar's average opponent record is 11-5. Touchdowns per game, Lamar has twice as many touchdowns as Jimmy does per game, but Jimmy has a better touchdown to interception ratio. No, Jimmy, that's wrong. It's 2-3. Jimmy has a 2-3 touchdown to interception ratio. Lamar has a 1-1. So Lamar's touchdown to interception ratio is greater, but Lamar turns the ball over more times per game. Jimmy has had one playoff run and one championship win. So I know that I'm just naming off stats. What's all this getting at, right? So I'm trying to see whose career will end up being better. Jimmy Garoppolo or Lamar Jackson? Wins or statistics? So I compared 3 of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. Tom Brady, Drew Brees, and Brett Favre. Brady and Brees are very similar in their stats. Brett Favre is a major outlier, statistics-wise. So that's why I threw him in there. Because I want to see if the consistencies were there. So I'm not going to go over all these statistics. That's what I've been doing the last couple of slides. But I noticed two things. For the seasons that Tom Brady had below 500 attempts, he had 85% win percentage compared to a 77% career win percentage. Drew Brees in seasons below 600 attempts, he had a 69% winning percentage versus his 59% overall. In seasons where Brett Favre had 550 attempts or less, he had 71% winning versus 62 win percentage. So I noticed that most to all quarterbacks have a sweet spot where if they hit that number of attempts, then they'll have a good season. Now, it's not a good coaching decision to coach so that the players hit that number of attempts, but it seems like for the seasons that they do well, there's a kind of a path that they follow, and you want to be around in that sweet spot. Brady's sweet spot's the high 400s. Drew Brees' sweet spot is the mid to high 500s, and Brett Favre's is the mid to low 500s. I also noticed that when Brady had a quarterback rating of 110 or higher, he had a 93% winning percentage in the regular season. When Drew Brees had the same 110 or higher, he had an 83% winning percentage compared to 59 normally. And when Brett Favre had a quarterback rating above 95, he had a 77% winning percentage compared to 62. So winning percentage and attempts per game, I noticed are not winning percentage. Quarterback rating and attempts per game, I noticed are the two things that all of these quarterbacks have in common in their best seasons of their career. If you look at playoffs, Brady had a little bit of an outlier for attempts per game, but I took the average Brady's average attempts per game for his entire career. I took Brees' average attempts per game for his entire career in the playoffs, and I took Brett Favre's average attempts per game for his entire career in the playoffs. When Brady had below that average, he had 77% winning percentage, which is pretty good compared to 73. Drew Brees below 41 attempts per game had 58% winning percentage, and Brett Favre below 33 attempts per game had 75% winning percentage. So, and I noticed that when they had above those numbers, they did horrendously bad compared to their other numbers. And in Tom Brady's rings, his quarterback rating average for ring seasons, he averaged 92.5 quarterback rating in the playoffs, and his top 2 quarterback ratings both made the Super Bowl, and his best rating won the Super Bowl. Drew Brees and Brett Favre's best quarterback ratings both won their Super Bowl ring, and Brett Favre's second best quarterback rating brought him to a Super Bowl. So that's consistent with what I found out about the regular season. There's also, I'm not going to linger on here for a long time because it's just another statistics slide, but I noticed that in the playoff success, Russell Wilson, Cam Newton, Eli Manning, and Matt Ryan all had their best playoff seasons when they had between a certain number of attempts that is their career average. So if they find their sweet spot of attempts in the playoffs, then they have more playoff success, which is congruent with my other experiments that I did with the other quarterbacks. So it was a very interesting thing, and all these quarterbacks have made it to or won a Super Bowl. That's why I picked these 4, because Eli Manning's won 2, Matt Ryan and Cam Newton have been to 1, Russell Wilson's been to 2, and he's won 1. So I figured that they're very solid quarterbacks to gauge. Exactly does all of this mean, you may ask? What does all these statistics I've been throwing out actually mean in the long run? Jimmy Garoppolo went 13-3 with 476 passing attempts, aka Brady's ideal number. That's what Brady's ideal number is, just below 500, and he's had a prolific career. Lamar Jackson averages 41 attempts per game, but in his 2 playoff games, he threw 35 and 60 passes. Those are 2 very different numbers from 41. So my understanding is that Jimmy needs more playoff experience to win a Super Bowl. He did well in his playoff games. He was able to bring a very good team to the Super Bowl. He didn't blow it. But in order to actually win the Super Bowl, he's going to need to step it up, and he's going to need to find his sweet spot. I think that he's a more consistent quarterback than Lamar Jackson, so I think that he will have a better postseason career. But I think that Lamar Jackson is a better passer, I guess, but I think that he has the ball too much. I think that Lamar Jackson is a perfect regular season quarterback because he can adjust to different teams. He's all over the place. He can run for 1,000,000 yards, pass for 1,000,000 yards, and not turn the ball over a lot. But I think that he won't have an amazing postseason career because he can't find that sweet spot. And I think that it just showed his first season and second season were 2 very different seasons. And I think that he's going to have a hard time getting ground in the playoffs until he gets to that sweet spot. I think that Jimmy Garoppolo already knows his sweet spot. I think that he knows, and again, you're not trying to get to that sweet spot, but if you're a good quarterback and you're doing well, then you're going to naturally drift towards that. So I think that Jimmy needs to throw more in his games in the playoffs and build up that experience to do well. But I believe that in the whole scheme of their careers, Lamar Jackson will make it to the playoffs more times than Jimmy Garoppolo will. But I think that Jimmy Garoppolo will have more success than Lamar Jackson will. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. It was a little bit of a different video, and I know there's a lot of statistics to it, and there's a lot of different things going on. But I really found it interesting looking at all of this stuff, comparing all of this data, and seeing what the major things that impacted quarterback success were. And I was not expecting attempts per game to be a major factor, but it really was. Tom Brady, Drew Brees, and Brett Favre all had incredibly better seasons when their attempts per game were in the sweet spot. And I found that very interesting. And I think that Lamar is a loose cannon, and he'll just kind of throw and run whatever. And I think that he'll have a harder time getting ground in the playoffs. So I do hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe if you're new to the channel. Hit that notification bell if you want to know when I post. I post every single day. It varies what time of day depending on what I have going on. But I do daily uploads, and I try to keep it consistent. So I hope you guys enjoy, and I will see you all tomorrow. Peace out.